talk to the people that work at the city that do environmental work, or talk to a local environmental organization. Go visit the nature center in your community. Find out who those people are. Find out who the other teachers are, because everything will be easier if you're part of a community. So that has been the biggest lesson.
I'm a senior at Rochelle High School, and I have been an intern in this Air of Truth project.
I am also an intern for this project. I found out about it also through Miss Glenn last year when I joined the school's Green Club.
Just her offering this opportunity to me meant a lot, to be able to continue looking into environmental issues and also working with her, because she was amazing.
Yeah, so one of the very first experiences I had with CELF was virtually drawing a map of the area around my school, and then thinking about the things that are going on in the school that affect the quality of life of my students or the ecosystems around the school. The idea of a spatial representation of what's going on, I think, also allows all kids to participate, because everyone kind of has a map in their head of what's going on around them. So that allows people to identify what the issues are, where they live. And I think just having a model inquiry action model where kids themselves identify their own issues is incredibly empowering. That is the work. If we're going to be resilient in the face of climate change or change the world, it's going to be through community connections to other people.
See that this part that gets highlighted in all of them is 95 running through, and that is the concentrated point where most of the pollution is happening.
One of my first interactions with the project was with a community event that they were doing in Mount Vernon, I believe. I was still learning a lot about the project at that time. I got to work with Raya Salter, who founded the Energy Justice and Policy Center. I got to meet her. And then I also got to meet a lot of city council members and a lot of the scientists who worked on it. It was really interesting to learn from them and talk to them, and they all kind of had different perspectives, even though they were talking about the same thing.
I have always tried to incorporate local examples and place-based education into class projects. And through a collaboration with the Energy Justice Law and Policy Center that started in 2021, I was able to access some state data that was collected, and it looked at block by block air pollution in New Rochelle. So firstly, I used this in my classroom with my students, where we looked at the data and they analyzed it when I was teaching about air pollution. And then through conversations with local environmental justice advocates and an organization I work with, we decided that we could do a bigger project with student interns and really do a deep dive into this data and try to understand what's going on in New Rochelle.
What you would see is that when you had projects that might have to disrupt communities, for example, the building of a highway where the government has to buy up property, they would do it in the places where you could buy it for the cheapest prices. So the places where you had the least development happening, and that would be in Black communities, which were the ones that were redlined. Over here, we have two examples. One historical one when they were building Memorial Highway, as well as the building of a Starbucks drive-through in a community where it should not have been. Drive-throughs should not be in residential areas, is extremely bad for their health, and this would have never happened in an area that may have had a higher socioeconomic status.
Even if I wasn't consciously thinking of it, thinking about now, looking back on friends who live in specific areas who have certain health conditions that I wasn't aware were caused by air pollution, and now knowing what I know, just kind of looking back and thinking, wow, we have kind of an issue here. I think that I just am really interested in looking more into air pollution, because it's something that not everybody thinks about in their everyday life, but it does affect everyone. And yeah, just helping our community realize what's going on around us is important.
I want to say that CELF runs their professional development for teachers in a way that is completely unique in my experience. And I've attended many different professional development programs. The focus on real world, local, identifying local problems with students. Also the way that voices are elevated and amplified within both the training for the teachers and then consequently the teachers working with their students. So there's a real focus on people knowing what's going on in their community and amplifying those voices and then finding local solutions. And that is an unusual model where teachers are empowered. And then by teachers being empowered, those teachers can then empower their students.